Welcome to Real Career Talk, the podcast. Welcome, and thank you for tuning in for another episode of Real Career Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Sherry Sims, founder of Black Career Women's Network, where career empowerment is our focus and helping you to thrive as a Black career woman with clarity, confidence is our purpose. Today's episode is episode number 9, and we're going to be talking today about the 5 keys to look for in your workplace culture. The 5 things you need to assess in your workplace culture. Now, this is typically really for someone who is new to the organization, or if, something to watch out for too, if there's any kind of, organizational structural change. But typically this is for someone who's brand new coming into an organization. These are things you need to be assessing along with not only learning how to do your job or coming in and knowing within that 90-day period, you need to make sure that all eyes are on you and that you're performing, but you need to be looking for these 5 key things. So we're going to jump right into it and start talking about what they are. The first thing you need to assess is take a notebook with you the first day. They don't need to know what the notebook is for. As far as they're concerned, it's just a notebook that you're writing down all kind of notes about your particular role, who are the people in the different roles that you're going to be working with. That way you can remember all of these things. But in addition to taking notes about your new position, the first thing you need to be doing is thinking of, looking at what are the norms in the workplace. You can assess this pretty quickly. So let's talk about this for a moment. There's a lot of different norms in different organizations, but the sooner you can quickly find out what are some of the norms in the workplace, the easier it is going to help you to be able to adapt, right? The biggest thing you're going to hear me talk about throughout this podcast is talking about how important it is for you to be adaptable when it comes to coming into a new workplace culture. The culture also needs to be in alignment with your values, but as you get into this position, you will quickly find out if it is or not. And that's something that you really cannot assess during the interview is that does this workplace culture really in alignment with your values? But think about, try to assess what some of those norms are. What I mean by that is, what is some of the language that they use? Jargon, industry jargon that they use. Do people come to work early and stay late? Or do people come to work at a certain time and then they all stay late? Or maybe a few people do. And if there are people who do stay late and ones who leave early, you need to observe who those people are. Just so you're aware of the work patterns that are in some of the circles of the places in the different sections in your organization. But it's just important for you to know because all those things can impact perception. So just think about who comes in early and who stays late. That may sound petty, but in the long run, it's good for you to know that. What about, bringing your phone to a meeting? There are some organizations that bringing your phone to a meeting is an absolute no-no. But if you walk into a meeting and everybody's got their phone laying on the table, does that mean you should bring it? Well, yes and no. We all know when it comes to African-American people in the workplace, sometimes the rules don't always apply to us, right? Or at least that's what it seems to be. So you might be able to bring your phone to the meeting and it's going to be just like a norm because everyone else is doing it. But do you want to kind of stand out and be known for something different? Maybe don't bring your phone to the meeting. Maybe it's not necessary for you to bring your cell phone to the meeting. And I know this sounds petty, but you see it quite often. Leave yours behind. It's for, it can also give the perception that you are present and focused and committed to what is going on, what are the conversations that are being had in the room. Number 2, find the hidden workplace rules. What do those look like? And you really won't know what those are until you actually start working in your role and going to meetings and developing relationships with your coworkers. But Find out what are some of those hidden workplace rules. There's going to be certain rules that you absolutely know that are blatant rules that need to be followed, and then there's going to be rules that are not on paper. Those are the ones that you need to dig in and find out as quickly as you can, because it helps you to adapt a lot quicker to the workplace culture if you understand what they are. Number 3, who are your influencers? You need to identify who those people are, not because you need to be in touch with them immediately, but it helps you to recognize when it's time for you to start looking for specific people to work with. If you need answers about something, if you need help to problem solve something, or if you just need someone to have your back on something that you're looking to implement, or maybe you've identified something that you want to change that can make things work more efficiently in your role. You want to be able to identify who is the influencer that can help you in any kind of way to help position you to either create some influence or create change within what you do, or just to have them specifically as someone that you can build a relationship with. So, try to identify who are your influencers. Your influencers do not necessarily need to be someone that's in a leadership role. It could be a coworker who's an influencer that is respected and highly regarded within their department by their own manager and also their peers, and that is the go-to person that they go to for everything in reference to making sure that things are being done in a timely manner, or they're meeting performance standards, or whatever the case may be. And then number 4, who are the backstabbers, the gossipers, the snitches? I know this sounds crazy, you guys, but you have to know who they are too. Because, you have to assess your workplace culture, find out who you can trust and who you cannot. And you do need to know who the snitches are. You do need to know who's the gossip person if it's multiple people. You do need to know who your backstabber is. You also need to know who's the person that may try to steal credit for your work, or who's the person that may feel threatened by your presence. You need to understand the dynamics of those people. And I know that sounds negative, but you still need to understand who they are. Now, some of you may be in a workplace culture that doesn't have any of those people. And for you, I say, you're lucky. For others, I would say identify who they are fairly quickly so you know how to handle them, whether it's with a long wooden spoon or if you need to keep your enemies closer. So you definitely need to understand how to manage those relationships with those types of personalities. Number 5, establish who could be a possible ally, mentor, or sponsor. Now, it may take you a while to figure that out, or you may get into the position and be there for a couple months and quickly assess, man, I'd like for that person to be my mentor, or goodness, I think they would be an awesome sponsor, or having this person in my corner would be just great for down the road. So you have to think about who are those people that could possibly have your back, that you could possibly talk to about, the workplace culture and how to navigate through that. And, identifying what's going to be good for you. So let's recap the five things that you need to be assessing or looking for within your workplace culture. Number 1, what are the norms? What's the language that they use? Do people stay late, stay early? Do they bring phones to meetings? Look for those little small things that can identify what the norms in the workplace are. Do they go to lunch together every Wednesday? What are some of the norms? Number 2, find the hidden workplace rules. Oh, it's so important to find out what those are, because even though we're all individuals and we all want to march and beat to our own drum, that's fantastic. But if you are going against the hidden workplace rules, you are going to stick out like a sore thumb. All right, number 3, who are your influencers? Find out who those are, and they necessarily do not have to be someone in leadership. It could be a coworker, it could be a peer. So just find out who are your potential influencers in the organization. Number 4, who is the backstabbers, the gossipers, the snitches, all those negative personalities that can bring horrible energy to the workplace? Just find out who they are. And again, if you're in a workplace where you don't have any of those types of people, you are lucky. But for those of you who may have those, you definitely need to assess who they are so you can, be adaptable to getting to know them and working with those difficult personalities and knowing how to manage that as well. And number 5, Establish who could be a possible ally, mentor, or sponsor. The faster you can identify that, the quicker it would be for you. We're not saying identify it in 30 days and then approach the person and say, can you be my mentor? No. We just want you to be able to identify them, put their name down in your book, and just put, potential mentor, potential sponsor. And as you develop a relationship with this person, and you all begin to establish a level of trust, mutual respect, and credibility for what you do, then you can approach them at a specific time to ask them about that. So just make sure that you're assessing it in the right way to get what you are looking for. So I hope these 5 tips are very helpful for you. And I want to thank you for listening, and subscribe to our podcast on iTunes, Spreaker, or SoundCloud, and take a few minutes to rate our show. We'd love to know what you think about it. You can also follow me on Twitter at BCW Network CEO, and ask me a question to answer on our next podcast. So again, I thank you for listening, and I'll talk to you on our next Career Talk podcast.